One thing I realized when I stopped moving the way that people were used to me moving, that not everybody was comfortable with that because people are very used to the version of you that always says yes, that always pushes through, that always does more, that always just is always available. People are used to that. And when I started changing that version of me, people noticed and they'll notice it about you too. And that's what I want to talk about in today's video. I want to talk about that friction that happens when women stop overextending themselves, over explaining their need for rest, overdoing the work, and just making themselves endlessly available to the people and the systems that benefit from your exhaustion. If you're new here, I'm Erica Prevail, and I talk about lifestyle design, modern work culture, and how I reset my ambition after career burnout. I talk about wellness and I talk about creativity. So let's get into it because, girl, the people benefit from you constantly being exhausted. And when I say the people, I mean the people and the people. People, so I, when you're the person who is used to doing it all, used to taking on things, being responsible, because you probably have experienced this, that's why you're watching this video. People are used to your overextension being normal. So, and this is the way that we're taught, especially when we're in our corporate careers, especially if you want to move up the ladder, or if you just want to be visible, you want to get a raise, you want to get your bonuses, whatever that those desires are that we're taught to desire in corporate America, you have to do these things. It's just the way it is. And people get so used to that version of you. Again, for me, this was me all throughout my corporate life, since the time I was out of college, all the way up into my corporate leadership career. I was the responsible one. I was the capable one. I was the one, just give it to Erica, she could do it. The one raising my hand, like all of the things, girl. And you know the story. In my corporate leadership career, in that role for 5 years, burnt out real bad, overweight, on anxiety medication, and then I took a 1-year sabbatical. And that's when my whole life really changed. But people became just so used to me doing it all, being able to take care of it all. I remember saying, in my corporate leadership career, of course, it got really bad because I was leading a large team. And when I came into the role, how can I say this? There was a lot that needed to be done. Let's just say it like that. And I did a lot of changes and improvement, especially around team morale. And yeah, a lot of things were done. I almost felt like they really did look at me like Superwoman, like Erica can do it all. And of course, like that's just not realistic. So with that external pressure, and then with my own internal pressure, because I had not dealt with that part of me yet, it ultimately led me to burnout because no one can be everything, do everything. Just it's impossible. It's unsustainable. But many of us are out here trying to do it or have tried to do it and ended up in a place that I was. But people will really get used to this part of you. And I'm going to take it a step further. So I had left my corporate leadership role, took my sabbatical almost a year. And then, I had got really clear, okay, when I go back to corporate America, this is the kind of role I want. This is the kind of team I want to work with. This is how I want to use my education, my skills, my gifts, so on and so forth. When I got into the new team, again, everything was pretty much everything that I wanted, again, at the time, because we continue to grow, evolve, change, needs change, whatever. But I wasn't that same Erica that I was before. Like, I just was very clear on how I was going to move in this space and not be in a place to wound back up where I was before, burnt out and overweight. I was just not going to do it. So when I came into this place, with a very clear mind, with boundaries, and again, these people are just getting to know me. So they didn't really know, that I was Miss Give It to Erica, do everything. But because I had certain clear guidelines around work, of course, people didn't say anything, but you could kind of tell that, she's different, like she's different. She's just not this. And again, no one said this to me. This is just me putting the pieces together later on and just seeing, observing how people respond, or their lack of response. But you can just tell that people are like, she's different, not just answering emails at 8 o'clock at night. No one, listen, no one on my team has my cell phone number because my work doesn't pay for my phone. So why do you need my cell phone? I won't be taking no work calls on this phone. If you can't reach me during work hours on the work phone, then you can't reach me. Just having things like that, people begin to notice, because if you're not careful, overwork can become a part of your identity, similarly to being responsible, being capable, and all the things. Overwork had become a part of my identity. And it also ties into value and worth. If we have the ability to produce or execute or have a certain level of output, that means we're worthy. That means we're valuable. Those are the things that are deeply tapped into our beliefs. And then that identity as being capable and responsible quickly escalates to you being the person that will overwork. And then your exhaustion gets misplaced or misinterpreted as important. Because again, moving in that way is just not sustainable. Doing it chronically, like always raising your hand, always taking on more, always doing just go, 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 do, always being available, is just not sustainable for the long term. And many of us, when we get into that space, we don't turn it off. So that's why I'm saying it's not sustainable, because of course, if we had the ability, being ambitious women and driven women, to just be like, okay, I understand that I need to, push a little harder or go a little bit harder during these next 3 months. We're working on this specific project. We need to do a little bit more, but we don't stop there. We just continue to do it over and over and over until, again, that becomes just who we are. It becomes our identity, and exhaustion also becomes our identity. And we get praised for doing this. We get praised for how much we can carry, how much we can take, and without realizing how much it's costing us, without realizing we're sinking deeper into the corporate brain rot, because we're not questioning anything. We're just doing, we're just moving. And that's why I say too, that these systems and the people, they benefit from your exhaustion, because you got to think about it. When you're exhausted, you're not sharp. You're not as sharp as you normally are. You're not probably thinking as critically as you normally would. So just by those circumstances, you're not your best. So sometimes, how do I want to say this? Sometimes you could be taken advantage of, or sometimes you just do it. You just do it, and it doesn't have to be anything malicious, but you just do it because you're exhausted. You're not thinking. You're tired. You're just like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Let me just do it just to knock it out. And then that becomes another thing and another thing and another thing. And that's why I say it. So the people, and this could be like your corporate career, that's the lens that I'm always speaking from, but it could be your family members, your friends, whoever you are presenting as this person who can do it all. The people, I don't know why that's funny to me. The people benefit from your exhaustion because you're not as sharp as you would normally be to question something. You just be like, oh girl, just let me do it. Just let me do it. Just let me get it done with and get over with, and not understanding ultimately how much that is costing you. I already had my tea this morning, so I just have water in my cup right now. And so, yeah. But here's the thing. Once you become aware of this, and again, I didn't become aware of this until, girl, I was already burnt out. I had left the job, and during my sabbatical, as I said in other videos, my sabbatical was my season of like deep transformation and me just really digging deep, understanding how I got to this place and how I was never going to go back, and really setting the foundation for how I was going to redesign my life. Fast forward to today, 4 years in this, my life just is very different now. But I'm having these conversations to help women like you. When you're navigating seasons like this and you know that you want to change, something has to change because you're in this deep exhaustion. That's why I'm having these conversations. So when you get to a place of, okay, I have got to start doing things differently, people will notice. You hear me? They will notice. They will notice quickly because your identity all this time has been something completely different. So I'm going to speak again from my experience, in my corporate career on this new team that I was on. And this is how deeply rooted the corporate brain rot really is, because here I am again, like I said, I'm on this new team where people don't even really know me like that. They don't really know how I work in my work effort, but the expectations, either spoken or unspoken, is for you to always do more, always take on more, even when you're doing good work, even when you're doing well. That's almost like the indicator to give you more work when you're doing well. So it's just very interesting how this works. But when I stopped having that energy of being available, when I set different boundaries and guidelines around my work, when I just was no longer over giving or no longer over explaining, people will notice. And people again will notice. Let's just say if you're on a team that you've been on for a while and you stop changing, or you go to a whole new team, or you're leading a whole new team, people will notice, because this is just the expectation in corporate America for you to do these things. And again, in my videos, I'm never corporate bashing. I'm not anti-corporate. I'm not anti-achievement. I'm not anti-success. I'm just having these conversations for your awareness. So when you're in these systems, you're aware and you know how to move accordingly. And you're not in a position anymore where you're doing all these things at the cost of your health and your wellness, of your sanity, of your rest, of your exhaustion, of your creativity, of your dreams, of your goals, of your desires. You're not throwing those things away because you're just so exhausted and so deeply in the sunken place of corporate brain rot. And I think too, sometimes people aren't necessarily reacting to the guidelines you set for yourself, your boundaries, your need for rest, or whatever the case may be. They're reacting to the loss of access to you in the version of you or the version of what they think that you should be. That's where that friction and that pushback comes back from. Because again, when you're in overwork, when you're in exhaustion, when you're in go mode, people benefit from that. They benefit from your exhaustion. The people benefit from you being exhausted. The people benefit from you being in a state of constant overwork. The people benefit from you being unrested. And that's the conversation. That's why I'm having these conversations again, to bring awareness. And then again, to once you are aware, because a lot of ambitious women, it can be both sides. Some of you might be aware that these things are happening, but some of you might not be aware. But awareness just is not enough. You have to take action. Awareness without action is just you continuing to stay stuck and to stay in the same loops. It's you have to be in a place of action. And again, not turning your whole life all upside down, or not going into the office and be like, nope, I'm not doing this. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you have to get clear on what things are deeply impacting you, and then start taking small intentional actions to change that. Especially, in today's video, I'm talking about exhaustion, just the ways that our workplaces, the modern work culture sucks us dry, drains you, and leaves you in a constant state of exhaustion. And when women stop overworking in this way, it changes the relationship dynamic with yourself, with your work, and with these systems and the people that you are around. And if you're someone who is currently in a state of awareness and you want to take actions, you feel it, something has to change, I want to invite you to the refill. I am going to be facilitating a space off of YouTube called The Refill. It's for women like you who've been pouring and working and doing everything for everyone else and has not had time for you. It's going to be a virtual, guided, creative space, again, for women just like you. And I have put the link down in the description box. So I want you to check it out if that's something that interests you. And we're going to talk about some of the reasons that you're exhausted and drained, some that I'm sure you probably may or may not be aware of. I'm sure you might not be, because sometimes we don't talk about things in this way. We're going to have some honest conversations. We're going to do some reflecting, and then I'm going to lead you through a creative practice that is just for you. So again, and it's going to be an intimate group. So I am capping the limit of the room. So if that's something that you're interested in, to be around community of other women who get exactly what you're going through, check out The Refill. I'll have it pinned in the comments, and I'll also have it in the description box. Oh, and the date for The Refill is Sunday, July 19th. But what I want to just get into is that I had to get to a place. Again, I was pushed to the extreme. And again, this is why I'm having these conversations, because I don't want other women to kind of get pushed off the ledge like I was. I was severely burnt out, overweight, on anxiety medication, and my only relief was leaving the job and taking a sabbatical. Like, girl, I've said it in other videos, but there was just no way I could have left that job and immediately went into another job. I would have been in bad shape. So I gave myself that space. Thank God I had the means to do so at that time. All praises to God. But I don't want other women to have to get to the edge to start realizing and noticing these things and doing something about it for themselves and start redesigning their lives, start resetting their ambition. Because again, for me, it's not about throwing away my ambition. I'm going to always be an ambitious woman. But what I'm not doing is achieving my dreams, my desires, my ambitions at the cost of my health and wellness. So not doing that anymore. And that's why I say I reset my ambition. And I just had to get to a place, and again, realizing it through my sabbatical, that I was going to have to live my life very differently in order to not go back into that space where I was previously, especially when you're still navigating and moving through the corporate construct. And I say corporate very broadly because you could be working in corporate America, you could be working in nonprofit, you can be even working for mid-size or even small businesses that still take on that corporate mindset. So that's why I just encapsulate it all in corporate America. You have to be aware of these things so then you can be strategic in how you navigate and move through these systems. And again, people might not like when you change. And again, there might even be some level of you feeling guilty, or there might be some discomfort when you're going through seasons of change and transformation and moving in alignment and intentions to ways that are for you. You might feel a little bit guilty. You might feel a little bit of uncomfortableness, if that's a word. But just because you feel those things does not mean that it's wrong. Just because you want to now move in a way that you're not exhausted all the time, you're not overworked all the time, you're not taking care of yourself, that doesn't mean that that's wrong. And I think one of the hardest parts about changing your life and making shifts in your life and moving in more intentional ways in your life is that some people are just more comfortable with that version of yourself, the exhausted version of yourself, the overworked version, the overextended version of yourself. That's just the way it is. But at some point, you have to decide whether that version of yourself works for you, or if you prioritizing your own health and wellness is more important to you. And the refill is where we're going to talk about that, move through that, and have some intentional time to pour back into yourself. Again, if that's something that you're interested in, I've linked it down in the below. Like this video, and also let me know down in the comments, what's one thing that you're no longer going to make yourself endlessly available for? Let me know down in the comments. Give this video a like, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.